Cordisco's Corner Store is hosting its 5th annual chess championship. The Broome County Chess Championship Francis Cordisco Memorial got started over the weekend. Organizer John Cordisco says it's an opportunity for chess fans, both experts and newcomers, to test their level of skill. There are 2 sections depending on level of play, and both have cash prizes for the top 3 winners.
We draw some really good players. There's some pretty good players in this county, and it's a very high quality chess compared to the number of people in the area. It's a great tournament, and I encourage people to come down and just to watch if they want.
The second and final round is this Sunday from 10 until 4, and it takes place at Cordisco's Corner Store at 308 Shenango Street in Binghamton.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 5, Game 2 of the FIDE World Chess Cup 2015. Played in Baku, Azerbaijan. This is the second game between, I picked it up on move 20, between Giri is white and Maxime Vacher-Lagrave, MVL is black. Just wanted it's a really long game, so I didn't want to start from the beginning. It's a Grunfeld. So let's get to it. Bishop A4 played by black, Maxime Vacher-Lagrave. I'll call him MVL for short. White, Giri. Rook D to B1. This is a tough game. E5, Knight B3. Of course, hope chess. White's hoping he'll take and reconnect these pawns, but that's not going to happen. Rook to A7. Knight to D2. He's trying to reroute the knight to a better spot. Either here, or maybe even here later. Going right after the isolated pawn right away, that's the way to do it. C4, if you can't defend the pawn, push it. And of course, that's very well defended by the knight and the bishop. Bishop C6. Now, what's White going to do with both of those rooks? Rook's got, on the A1, has got to babysit the A pawn. So he goes rook to B2. King G7, just to kick the king off the back row. Get him closer to the center as pieces get traded off. The king's an important piece. F3, just to block the blunt of the light squared bishop there. Rook E8, wanting to push the E pawn for black. Giri goes king F2. Same idea, move the king towards the center, help protect the pawns, and also as the pieces get traded, the king plays a key role. E4. What to do, what to do? Do you take it? Well, of course not. If you took, this pawn becomes isolated and weak, so you just have to leave the tension. Knight B3. Pawn takes, take with the G pawn, of course, instead of the bishop or the king. You don't want to isolate the E pawn. Bishop A4. They're just maneuvering around here. Now the threat is, if this rook ever moves, bishop takes, because pawn can't take, because rook takes. So he decides to go after the knight, rook E5, rook D5. Looking to trade. I don't think black has much choice but to trade. You can take the knight first, but he decides to play rook takes and pawn takes. So now those pawns are reconnected. That C pawn for white isn't isolated anymore. I think white's doing very well here. Very well. This is unlike Maxime to get in this bad position like this. Bishop takes, pawn takes. King F6. Maxime's trying to get his king up. Now remember, this is for the FIDE World Chess Cup. The top 2 candidates, the final 2, go to the candidates final. And the winner of that tournament plays Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. So this is a huge deal. And not even count, the money's decent too. The farther you go, of course, the much more money you make. F4. What to do, what to do? Knight C5 looks pretty good. Maybe rook A3, maybe, to go after the pawn. Besides to go G5. I can see what he's trying to do, but I just don't go along with it. On a Giri won rook to c2. Now pawn takes. Pawn takes. Now look at all the white's pawns here. All of these are isolated. And to be honest with you, blacks are no better. So king e7. Isolated pawns in the endgame are a big pain in the behind to defend. You got to take a major piece to defend them because the pawns can't protect each other. Rook c6. Knight f6, trying to get the knight in a decent spot, going after the pawn. There we go. The bishop's got to babysit that pawn now, but that pawn's pretty far advanced. Rook d7, hitting it again. Rook takes b6. White's up 2 pawns now. Knight takes the pawn. Bishop takes. Rook takes. Alright, we're in a rook ending. Black's down a pawn, but it might not be the end of the world. Small advantage for white. I think with correct play, black should be able to draw this. Let's see how it works out. King to g3. h5. King up. A king's a powerful piece in the endgame. My understanding is worth more than a bishop or a knight. Rook f5. Rook b4, protect the pawn. Rook comes over. Now how is white going to advance that b pawn? I'm going to have to see. Rook c4. King comes up. Pawn. King g6. Okay, the king's got both the pawns guarded. Okay. Rook checks. f6. Rook c2. Can black hold on? Rook b5. Forcing the rook to go to b2, which makes that rook very passive. So I think maybe black's scrolling out of this. Let's see. King f5. Bring him right up. King has to go back to g3 to guard the pawn. King e4. Here comes the black king. Rook to b1. King comes over. He's going to bring the king over to try to pick up the b pawn. But I don't think it's going to happen because if they trade over there, white's just going to clean up on black's pawns. King f3. King c2. Rook a1. Rook takes. Rook a5. You can't protect the pawn. Rook to b3 check. King e4. h4. That's the way to protect the pawn. Because now you'll see if he advances the pawn, this rook at least is helping. King f5. And this is what's very easy to do, especially in rook and isolated pawn endings. Rook to b6 looks pretty good. Do the best you can. But he makes a very natural move. King to d3. And that's the beginning of the end, I think, for black. After king takes, king to e4, if he's going to pick up the other pawn, f5, h3, and it's just a matter of mopping up now for white. Poor MVL is just doomed now. King f3, king g5, rook b5, slowly turning the screws, rook a2, stop the king from crossing over, and I was protecting the pawn. Rook b4, f6, here we go. Slowly creeping down the board. Rook checks, king f5, rook checks, king e6, here we go. Rook checks, king d6. Now if it goes to d4, the king just comes over. Just a matter of technique now. King f8, rook b4, pawn, rook, rook b2, rook a4, and that's where Maxime Vacher-Lagrave from France resigns. There's nothing really he can do. Nothing at all. Anyway, folks, tough break, so that eliminates MVL from the FIDE World Chess Cup. Anish Giri's been playing very well. I know he played in the Singfield Cup, Leg 2 of the World Grand Chess Tour. And he had a streak of games for like 20-something games where he didn't lose. He didn't win many, but he didn't lose any. So, a good game by Anish in a fairly complicated rook and pawn ending. So there you have it, folks. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is eliminated. Anish Giri advances. We'll see how things go in round 6. As I always say, folks, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.